Hello, and welcome to another whiskey review with me, the Whiskey Novice. Thank you for joining me for review number 233, and we are on Islay, and we are there with, it's here, Ardnahoe. Yes, it is, the inaugural release, or the 5-year-old, call it what you will. I'm just glad to call it mine. It's good to have it in my cabinet. I've waited a long time on this bottle from the Lane guys there on Ardnahoe, or on Islay and Ardnahoe. This one bottle of 50%, non-chill filter, no colour added. They're ticking all the right boxes. So much so that I would suggest that this is a bottling produced for us enthusiasts, more so than it's certainly not your run-of-the-mill supermarket consumer bottling. This is pretty much ticking those boxes. And I mean, even whenever you get down, I've said it before, say it regularly, I don't care about boxes. I don't care about bottling, really, about what the bottle looks like. I don't want my money to go into their marketing if I can help it. And I'm not having a pop at them here by saying that not a lot of money has been wasted on marketing here. It does come in a cardboard box, but it's quite a simple thing as well. So I quite like to see this. I like to see that there hasn't been an awful lot of money, an awful lot. Yes, it's decent enough looking, but there hasn't been millions spent in the marketing and less spent on the whiskey. This is about the whiskey, in my opinion. So this, the initial outturn, the inaugural bottling, 70,000 bottles. It's not, I mean, it's not, I think it does say on the somewhere on it limited edition or limited release or limited edition. Yeah, limited edition or inaugural release. 70,000 bottles ain't that limited, but that's 70,000 bottles worldwide, and I would guarantee you a lot of places have sold out of this already. So, you know, good to see, good for them. £70 a bottle, an inaugural release. Let me see, you know, £70 for a 5-year-old whiskey. Dear enough, I suppose you could say. But the other thing to remember is that since 2018, roughly, these guys have been hemorrhaging money. That's all you're doing at that point, is hemorrhaging money. There's nothing coming in. It's all just going out. So £70 a bottle, I'm quite happy to pay it, in fairness, for an inaugural bottling. There are others who will release inaugural bottlings, and you can guarantee that they will be about 5 times that price, and they're just looking to get money back, and they're scalping. And the thing about it is, in those cases, they're generally putting out bottles that'll never be drying anyway. The collectors snap them up and they just sit on them, and they're never. These guys are making whiskey for drinking purposes. So let's just, enough faff, let's just get into it and see what we think, shall we? The inaugural bottling, I've waited a long time, so time to get in. Rich, sweet, buttery, peat smoke. And immediately, almost immediately new, yet also very recognizable. This is a good, old-fashioned style peated malt. It's definitely not trying to break any molds. Moreover, this is a distillery that's saying, and I like this, it's something that I've talked about an awful lot recently. It's a distillery that's saying, we're not trying to be different. We know we're making a product which is recognizable, but let's try and do it better. And that's all we ask. That's all I ask, certainly. And straight away, they've done a bloody good job of it. Marzipan, smoke, blood orange, smoke. There are vegetative notes and a lot of smoke. It's a good one. It's a good quality peated malt. Good well established smoky nose. Can't ask for more than that, especially from boys who we're trusting, who haven't technically been there, done that before with their own distillery. Sweet and sour arrival. Lovely. You can taste the cereal on the new make in this. And I love it. I've got into a lot of new make spirits of late. Not necessarily, I suppose, here in Ireland, you're talking about your poitín. More so new makes where they haven't had anything done, straight off the still stuff. And I'm recognising a lot of that flavour now, especially here, those cereal notes. There's a fresh greenness about it, but there's also a slight metallic-y, where that young spirit has, you know, there's been good copper contact. It's getting those fruity, estery flavors from that. Absolutely nothing takes charge. Everything's very balanced. Ex-bourbon, ex-sherry cask is what we're told. But it's just well handled, very well produced, very considered. You would think, honestly, 5 years old, you'd think these guys have been doing it all their lives. And I mean, it's all right to say that, yes, Hunter Lang have been around in the background, not necessarily in the background even, certainly in the whiskey world for many, many years, but this is the first time, remember, that they've produced their own spirit, matured their own spirit on Islay. So it was still a test. There's always that risk that it doesn't work. It works here. It definitely works here. It all rounds off into a relatively long, less smoky than I would first expect finish. It goes a little hot, but there's some of those fresher, sharper, fruitier notes carry through. And long into the finish. If you sort of stray off and forget about it, then that smoke is, you realise that smoke's there. You realise it was probably always there. But it's just, once again, like the palate, very well balanced out. Honestly, this is fantastic. I was so pleased because, I'll say it again, I've waited for this. I've waited a long time for this. And I didn't know what to expect. And then I read someone's review very early on it. I'm reviewing this sooner than I usually would a bottle. I usually would like to have a bit more experience with it. But I also wanted to review it now. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I bought it. I'll buy another. 70,000 bottles. I'm sure I'll be able to get my hands on another one. Because I want to keep this in my life. I want to keep this. I want to have this experience again. Water doesn't necessarily change this a whole lot. It brings out some of those drier fruit notes that you'd expect of sherry cask maturation. It does what we expect of a lot of whiskies when you add water. It sort of rounds off those edges a little. Takes a few of the rougher edges off. I wouldn't suggest that it releases a whole lot. Maybe becomes slightly more vegetative. But definitely those richer, drier fruit notes are there. The same can be said for the palate. Rounding off those edges. Softening it up a little, which is what you would expect. For me, it's not releasing an awful lot more, that I didn't already discover. Once again, perhaps the sherry cask starting to show through a little more. But all in all, fantastic. Absolutely love it. Love it. So well done to the Langs. Well done to the rest of the people at Ardnahoe. You have produced an A1 whiskey for an inaugural release, in my opinion. Remembering it's only an opinion. So we'll leave it there and we'll move on. Now, I was sort of expecting, I had this expectation of an Ardbeg wee beastie, shall we say, of a Macker Bay, let's say Macker Bay from Kilhoman. That sort of youthful, more creamy, more estery whiskey here, which I get on those younger malts from Islay. This does not feel or taste like a 5-year-old malt. In my opinion, this feels and tastes quite a bit, well, to say quite a bit older. That's the thing, because a lot of malts, as we know, a lot of peated malts work better at a younger age. But this, to me, definitely noses, tastes like a lot of those 10-year-old single malts, peated single malts. But I'm going to go one further and suggest to you that if you like this, then try this. A bottle that I'm ashamed to say I don't currently have in my collection, the Lechic 18-year-old. I had thought about going down the path of the Lechic 10-year-old. I love my Lechic. So, you know, for me to suggest to you that the Lechic 18-year-old is a good, and I'm going to say to you, step up. It is a little, the Lechic 18 is a very definite step up from the Ardnahoe. But you know, if you bought the Ardnahoe and you enjoyed it, but you've never had the Lechic 18, definitely go down that path. So there's sherry casks there again. And the Lechic 18 is a brilliant example of, it amazes me, it's one of the only examples I've ever tried that all those phenolic notes stay right where you want them after 18 years. 18 years in maturation. That doesn't happen a lot. In a lot of cases I've found, most of the phenolic notes have started to give way to the cask, so that whatever the wood these whiskies have been in has taken over, and the phenolic notes have all calmed down a lot. The Lechic 18 is a good example of an older peated malt that holds all that phenolic flavour that you expect of a peanut malt. So yeah, Ardnahoe 5-year-old, fantastic. If you want to step that up a bit, in my opinion, the Lechic 18-year-old. So there you go. That's gone. I'll leave it there and say, listen, thank you very much for tuning in as usual. Always appreciate it. Thank you very, very much to my patrons. Should anybody wish to join that group, details are in the video description below. I am going to enjoy the rest of this bottle, starting here. Not right, I'll not enjoy it right now, obviously. Obviously people drink responsibly. And I will replace it very, very much so. Until the next time, I did say in my last review, so I just quickly popping this in, I did say in my last review that this review would be something a bit more recognisable, or something, you know, I hadn't intended to pop this review in here. I had intended to go on to my what's coming next week and for the following weeks. So that'll make sense whenever you see it. Until then, look after yourselves. Here's to your good health. Cheers.
Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please click and subscribe to be notified of further content.